Hey guys, how you doing? JP Sarricolea here, and welcome again to another episode, this week's episode of Age of Heroes, my podcast. Thank you if you're listening to the different platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Castbox, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any other, and also for those who are watching this through YouTube, thank you for the support. Thank you for always spending time with me every week. Now, this week I want to cover, it's been crazy. Let's just put it out there. It's been crazy. This week there's been so many news and all the different hobbies I'm part of, all the things that I do that I enjoy in this pop culture and the geeky stuff. There's been so much stuff. It's unreal. In the statue collecting world, there's been so many reveals, a lot of amazing stuff, a lot of pre-orders every week, a lot of stuff that is coming, a lot of stuff that is coming from all the big companies, and not only in North America but all around the world. In Asia, a lot of the companies are bringing some amazing work and amazing new concept, new ideas. It's unreal. And also, of course, in the entertainment world, we have a lot of stuff coming our way. This week we have the beginning of E3 on the gaming world. We have the reveal recently of Battlefield 2042, the upcoming Battlefield game, which just looks amazing. I actually reacted to that trailer on my gaming channel. I will have the link for you. But it is amazing. And sometimes when you think that you wish things slow down a bit, it's like everything is going full force, full throttle all the way in. And you are just caught in the middle, trying to figure it out how things are going to play out. And in this video today, and in this podcast today, I really want to cover that because I was actually divided. I'm not sure what I wanted to talk about this week because there's so much. I can talk about Battlefield 2042. Last week we talked about Battlefield and the expectations that I had. Unfortunately, it's not going to have a single player campaign. That's one of the things that I wanted to see. It's not going to have that, but it's going to be concentrated on the multiplayer aspect. And there's a lot of technical news that we have from the game. It's going to you're going to be able to play up to 128 players at the same time, but only on, in this case, the most recent consoles, which is the PS5 and the Xbox, was the newest Xbox Series X or whatever. So and of course PC, but the PS4, the Xbox, the previous Xbox One is not going to have that capacity. So I can talk about it today. I can talk about collectibles. I can talk about a lot of the things that are happening there. Of course, the rise of the cost of it, the price, and I probably will have talk about it at some point in the podcast in the next, I would say in the next couple of weeks or something like that. But also, I can talk about movies, about some, in this case, cancellations. For example, Jupiter's Legacy that was canceled at Netflix, which is a disappointment because I kind of like it. I know some people, it was not everyone's cup of tea, but it was good to see it there, and it's canceled by Netflix, which is something that Netflix has been doing a lot. It's canceling a lot of the shows, and I wanted to talk about it too. And of course, also I want to talk about the comparison that sometimes people make with this type of shows with other shows, and I think that really hurts this shows overall because in reality, a lot of people are comparing, apples to oranges just because the idea of superheroes. A lot of people think that just because they're superhero stories, they're all similar, and that's not the case. They're not really similar. There are differences. And ultimately, just because everyone is dressed up as superheroes doesn't mean that the story is all the same. We cannot make this comparison. The stories, in the end, there's a message that is being told through each story in a different way. So there's a difference there. Of course, people are going to make comparisons. So I can talk about about that today as well. But to be honest with you, with all of that, trying to pick up the right thing to say or the things that I really want to cover, it's hard for me to decide. But I've been thinking about this subject, about change. That change is constant. I've been thinking about it for quite some time. I've been thinking about it for a couple of weeks. And I'll probably even beyond that. And I think I wanted to cover that today. I want to just get more personal today because I do feel that sometimes we get so caught up into this idea, wrapped up into the mindset of, that we need to always be on the move, that life has to change, that we have to adapt to everything that comes our way. And although I understand the importance of adaptability, and I talked about it in the podcast some time ago, probably a year ago, I still think that sometimes change can be very overwhelming and also can take over in a way that sometimes pressures us to really always think about the next thing instead of just concentrating on the things that we have today. And I feel that it's important that we realize that. And I want to talk about it today. I want to cover that today because I think it touches me personally. Now, I want to give you a little bit of insight on my life on this podcast. I have mentioned this on my channel, but I don't think I have done it on the podcast as much. But recently, I went full time. I think went on although I've been full time here, I went to work for someone else recently, and I'm in the process of it. We establishing everything for the business that I'm part of now. I was hired by this company that wants to start pretty much in some ways it's kind of startup, but it's been in business for a while. Of course, they changed names and all that. And they in this area, they want to establish a new location for their store. They sell certain products for the construction industry, high-end stuff. And they brought me on board to manage their store and their location here in this area. They hired me for that. They brought me to their office. Actually, not their offices, but one of their offices. Not the headquarters, but I went there, met the people there. I was in love with the mindset they have, what they want to do. They're brand new in some ways, but they have their head on their shoulders. They really are investing into what they want to do, and they offer me a very competitive, a very good salary to start up, and also the ability to to produce commissions. Uncapped commission-based type of thing, but the salary in itself is good. It's really good. Probably the best salary that I have ever gotten from one job like this, and I work for jobs like this where I was making commissions. So the salary in itself is good, and all the this case the benefits that the company is giving me, I'm glad. I'm super glad because I really need it. I do need that. I think when you get to a place in life, I think after you get into your 40s. Then you realize how important benefits are. You realize that it's important to have a good retirement plan. It's important to have good insurance, medical insurance, and all of that, particularly here in North America. You need to have all of those things. And they offer me everything I wanted and enough vacation time to take too. So overall, it's a really good start for me. And I'm in the process right now. I'm working on it, really doing stuff. Contacting clients, all that stuff, because we're establishing things because of COVID-19. We've been having some delays on the products that we sell because we are importers. We import a lot of products from outside, of course, the country. From a lot of stuff comes from Brazil, from India, from places like that. So we having some issues in regards to getting all this stuff ready, but that's something that we can manage, and I think over time we'll get stuff done. So right now we're in the process of that. So it will take probably a week or two until we do our full opening, and we start just kind of, in this case, servicing our clients and stuff like that. But in the meantime, to me, it's such an important change. In the last 2.5 years, I've dedicated a lot of my time to this podcast and to my channels. I've been working full time doing this. I initially took the opportunity of doing this. I have savings. I put all my savings on the line. Since the first year I'm not going to make any money. So might as well just use what I have and survive for the year. We can take care of our bills, the mortgage, all of that, all of those things. My wife is still working. So that was my first year. Invested everything I have in my pocket and my savings in order to survive, because there was no other way. Thankfully, my wife was on board with that. She actually came with the idea, and I took the idea, and I'm blessed. I'm so grateful that she was so understanding of what I wanted to do, and that she knew that I needed change in my life from what I was doing, and I did it. It was fun. And then, of course, COVID, when things didn't work out as well, I was planning to go back to work on a regular job, because the year that I put myself, okay, this year I'm going to do it, it didn't work out as well. The second year, of course, we got hit with COVID-19. And that put a strain. A lot of jobs were not hiring, or they were really hiring, or they were letting go of people. The company that I was working prior to it, they told me that I could go back, file bankruptcy, all of those things. So ultimately, I have to pretty much stay the course. And that's what I did on this channel and my podcast. I'd say, let's just keep doing it. And of course, I was dealing with some health issues that happened at the end of the first year. Which made me, it was hard for me just to even be up all the time. But I was on the computer, I was dealing with that, ended up in the hospital, having a lot of issues. But I would try to recover. I didn't think that I could just manage myself to have another job. So I decided just to continue doing this, see if opportunities open. Last year, because of COVID, even though it was hard, things start kind of changing a little bit on the channel, start growing a little bit. I start, brought more people, more viewers. Of course, people are at home. So in that case, people are spending more time on the social media. So the channel grew. I think the more it has grown in years, it grew last year, which is good. It was a blessing. And I started making money. But I wasn't making near enough to be it, to make it sustainable. But I continue on because that's who I am. I love to continue on. And then, of course, at the end of last year, I got sick again. I wasn't feeling good. I think I was crashing down because of all the pressure and the stress of what I was doing. So I ended up going to Mexico for 3 months, which was a blessing. And I loved it. I mentioned this before. It was good. I enjoyed it. And it was an important time for me to spend time with my parents. I needed that. I haven't really spent time with my parents in a very, very long time since I left home, since I was, 18 years old. So it was an opportunity to spend time together and also to heal my relationship with my dad, because when I left home, my dad left when I was 16. He left, he did his thing, but ultimately he came back home with my mother after so many years gone. God did a change in their lives. They are strong together. They love each other. They have forgiven each other for all the mistakes, and they're happy. But at the same time, I think there was that area in our lives together that my dad and we didn't see eye to eye for a long time. And I feel that needed healing. And I think that was an opportunity that God gave me, not only because of my health, but the opportunity to be home with them, spend time with them. And at the end of the day, also to show that I love them, I forgive them for, all the mistakes they did when I was young, but also for my own mistakes and my decisions, and sometimes my own way to accuse them for things that they did. So it was good. I would say it was good. It was an opportunity. It was healing time for me, not only physically, but also mentally and spiritually. Came back to the United States, and ultimately I was doing this, and I started looking for work, little by little. But of course, an opportunity came, and as soon as I started looking for work, because of my experience, because of my resume, I started getting a lot of offers, and I went to different places. I had some interviews. Some places were not as interesting. Some places were interesting. I wanted to do, but the pay wasn't that good. And ultimately, this is the job that really called me. And ultimately, I was very interested. They're the ones that brought me in. They paid for all my expenses when I went to see them, for the food, the meals, the gas mileage, because I drove there, and the hotel expenses, all of that. They took care of all of it, lunches, all of it. And so I didn't have to worry about anything. And I felt that I was taken care of. And I really liked the environment. So in the process, of course, it means that now I have to leave this behind. And part of me has been disappointed and sad because I really love what I do here. But part of me understands it because honestly, it's been a lot of losses for me financially also. The last 2.5 years, at least I lost. Just at least, I'm just going very, I make more than that every year. But at least I lost $100,000 at least, with everything that I put into it, my savings, and all the money that I didn't make the first year, and the stuff that I was unable to make the second year, and the time that I wasn't really working because I was sick. So I would say that around, and I was making the math. I was talking to my wife the other day doing the math, because finally I sit down, I said, let's do the math and see how much money I lost through the whole process. And I lost at least $100,000. And I want to say it like that, which is not easy, because I'm thinking $100,000, I could have just finished paying my mortgage. And that's the loss. But at the same time, part of me feels like, do I miss it? Because ultimately money comes and goes. That's something that I've learned over the years. That, I've been through ups and downs in my life financially. I have made a lot of money over the years. There's been years that I made a lot, and there are years that I made zero. Like the first year of doing this YouTube channel, zero. Actually, I have to pay the government when I have to file my taxes for taxes owed, things like that, which was amazing to me. I was on the zero, I was on the red the first year. So to me, it's like, do I miss it? I'm not the type of person that likes to look back at things and just be regretful for the things that I didn't do. I do have regrets. Yes, there are things that I could have done better, but at the same time, I do feel that there are things that ultimately were necessary to happen in my life, and I see that as an opportunity, as an investment. I don't see the time, because the people look at the time that is wasted as, as money wasted, as opportunities wasted. If they see time wasted at everything that happens that didn't work out. But I see it as an opportunity for learning. I think life is full of mistakes and also trial and error. There are things that you have to try to see if you're capable to continue on. But ultimately, you have to realize that if some things don't work out, you can be stubborn and continue on trying to push for that result and be on the wrong all along, or you can simply move on and learn from the things that didn't work out so well to the next stage in your life, the next step, the next season in your life. And I feel that I'm in that place right now, in the place where I am looking at the future and I'm looking at the present, of course, at the past, but I'm looking at all those things from one plain situation. I see it as a one flat thing where I'm looking at my life as a whole, where I'm at, where I've been, where I'm going, and what I want to do for the next season of my life, for the next 20 years. I've been blessed, abundantly in the last, I would say, 20 years. I've been married. My daughter, now she's gone. She decided to marry very young. Now she's 20. It was her call, her decision. I love her very much. I'm very proud of her. Her husband, he's a hard worker. He works really hard. He's doing his best. At the same time, they're not perfect, both of them. They're young. And as they're young, of course, they're going to make stupid decisions because that's part of life. We all went through that. But I'm proud of what they're trying to accomplish together. And I love them very much, very deeply. But I don't have any other kids for the time being. You never know. God knows how to throw jokes at you. If my wife ends up pregnant again, then at this stage of my life, then I have to kind of start over again, raise another child. And I never discounted that. It didn't happen. My wife had some miscarriages over the years, and it was painful for us. But at the same time, I'm grateful for what God did. God knows what He's doing, regardless of if I understand the outcome or not. But I would say that through all of it, I can see that change is a constant thing that happens in our lives, in every aspect of it. And we have to be able to accept it, and we have to be willing to adapt to it, because it is part of it. It's part of life. If you get stuck in a mindset, if you get stuck into something, you will never grow, you will never mature, you will never see your life in a better way. And it's always going to be a challenge for you just to move, and every single day to really confront the next day, because you're always looking at the limitations. You're always looking at the past instead of looking at where you're at in the present. I've been through ups and downs in my life. I've been in a lot of situations. Like, I left home when I was 18, but I was 16 already. I was already gone from the home when my dad left. And my life was always about me doing things on my own. And, I came to the United States very young because I wanted to continue on with my life. And, God was good. I have family here, and, God was always supporting me in the way. I made a lot of friends, but I made a lot of decisions on my own. And I also made a lot of mistakes on my own because I was proud, because, I thought I was doing the right thing. I wanted to do my thing. And ultimately, it's discovering the good things and the bad things of life. But all along, I always felt that God was always leading me, and it's always been leading me to the things that I've been doing through the ups and downs. I don't regret the things that I did wrong. I don't regret the last 2.5 years. Some people would say, well, you lost a lot of money, and, are you going to get it back? And I would say, yes, I think so. I hope so. If I don't, I'm not going to cry over that, because at the end of the day, life is that, it's an investment. Not only you invest money, you also invest your time. And at the end, time is money. So there's value in us. And although I would say some people say you're stupid for whatever you spend, because that could have just helped you in your retirement, which is true. But at the same time, I feel like, do I know the future? Can I guarantee that I will get to that place? And there's no guarantees. There's no guarantee that you will live tomorrow. There's no guarantee that I will live, that I will survive this day, that I will come to the end of it. But I know that there's one thing that is constant regardless of everything, which is change is constant. It's always, there's something that is happening in our lives. And one thing I can hold on to everything in life, through every change and every season of my life, has always been holding on to my faith, has been holding on to God, that has been good to me through all along. And I talk about God a lot, and sometimes people might think that I'm too religious about it. But I know the difference between religion and relationship. And one thing is that you can be religious, you can have a faith, you can do certain things because you've been told to do them, because you've been forced to do them, because you've been raised on that particular church or faith, and you want to follow that steps. So you do it religiously, you do it constantly, you don't change, you don't even think if it's the right thing or not, you just simply do it. Or you can have a relationship. And to be honest with you, my relationship with God, it's been through ups and downs too. There's times where I'm very good, I'm good with it. I'm really embraced God all along. And there are times that I'm just simply walk away from him, like in any other relationship. Sometimes I'm even angry. I can say that. Sometimes I've been even angry at God for certain things. But the good thing about relationship is that it's built on trust, and it's built on that we stick together regardless, like a good marriage. It's not a good marriage is never perfect. There's ups and downs, but you embrace that person through all the difficulties of it, through the changes and the seasons of life. Because of course, when you get married, you were very young, very naive, maybe good looking when you're young, and all of a sudden you get older, and now you're not as good looking as you used to be. Now you have this belly fat. Now you have issues with your heart. Now you have problems, even you're losing hair, whatever. But ultimately, you come to this relationship because you are attached to this person, and you make a commitment to be with each other through the ups and downs of life. And I would say that this is something that I try to see more and more and often. And when I come to this hobbies that I really love a lot, and talking about the things that some people love, and the reason a lot of you come to this podcast, that they are, even in the hobbies that I'm part of, like for example, statue collecting, I'm going to use that as an example. I do see that the change is it's rapid. There's so much stuff the companies are producing every day. It used to be a time where, there was a release every other week or perhaps once a month or whatever. Companies sometimes took months to release something. The only time you could wait for Sideshow to release something was during, San Diego Comic-Con, the New York Comic-Con. Maybe you see something here and there from Toy Fair, whatever. Now they have stuff every week. And, they're not even the biggest offenders. You talk about Prime One Studio. Every week they have one release, or they have 2 releases or 3 releases per week, which is amazing, and not cheap stuff, very expensive stuff. You have XM Studios releasing almost every other week. You have, Iron Studios releasing every week. You have Queen Studios releasing a lot of good stuff, at least a couple of releases per month. You have all these big companies releasing stuff, and you have all these producers. And you could go to Spec Fiction, for example, to the website, and every day there's something new that is posted. Even Sideshow has every day something new that is posted. 1 or 2, 3, there's so much stuff that they post every day, whether it's action figures, with their statues, collectibles, whatever. It is amazing. And to be honest with you, it can be overwhelming as a person that loves to collect things, because you're constantly looking for those things. You're always like, oh, I want this, I want that. And then it becomes so hard for you. It gets hard on you, because then you realize that you don't have enough money to cover all the expenses, and you cannot cover it all. I can see it even as a content creator here on YouTube. When I try to make videos for these products, it is, it's hard. If I miss one day, there's like probably 2 or 3 new products, and it was becoming overwhelming, because every day I have to kind of keep up with it. And to be honest, I wanted to produce other content, but people want to watch the reaction videos, but I want to produce other content. I want to review stuff. I want to talk about other things of life, but I don't get the chance. And in reality, people only want the reaction, because everyone is so zoomed in into really looking at the new stuff and what they're going to spend money on. They're looking about the future, but they're not looking at the present. And to be honest with you, that is it's a missed opportunity, because not only there's good stuff that is coming in the future, there's a lot of good stuff out there in the market that you can actually purchase today for a better price. There's a lot of stuff that people are selling, and actually you can have a lot of fun just hunting down some of those pieces that you missed out a long time ago. You can actually get them, and because people are getting rid of them. So actually that is even a lot of fun, because now you're looking at something that is proven, that has quality, compared to something that is unproven yet, because it hasn't come out yet, and people are calling it a grail when it's not even out for sale. I don't call grail to everything, unless it's something that is already proven, that is something that is hot, people want it because it's beautiful, because it's pretty much immaculate. And those are the things that you can find sometimes for a good price if you're looking deep enough, like books. There's so much stuff that I want to do. There's things that I would love to do now that I have a job and now I have income coming in. I'm going to probably do more toy hunting. I'm probably going to do some more blogs. I'm going to go out, show you places, go to comic book stores, things like that. I want to do all those things that I haven't been able to do. First, because I was stuck with this and I wasn't making enough money to go out on this, I would say spending spree. But now I can do those things. And I feel enticed by it. It's been such a good run. I would say the 2.5 years have been good. But one thing I have to be aware of, something that I have to acknowledge, is that change is constant. And it's important to be willing to go through it. If you get stuck in your mindset, you're never going to grow. Your collection is never going to grow. Your peace of mind is never going to grow. Even your satisfaction and your joy in the hobby is not going to grow. If you're always, because I even see it with people who are always critical about everything, critical about this, critical about that. It's like everything comes out, something beautiful. There's always the people that are always see the glass half full, while others always see the glass half empty. And those are the people that sometimes permeate the social media groups, because there's always a criticism because, oh, this is not perfect. Oh, because this is not 100%. Oh, because this doesn't look like this or that on that. And sometimes when it's just nitpicking, it's a lot of nitpicking. And I could be a nitpicker. In some ways, I do some nitpicking on my channel when I talk about certain products. But ultimately, nitpicking, it's all what it does. It creates more chaos. It creates more frustration for the person that is constantly looking at the things that, the very small details. People always complain about the small details. I remember back in the day when you used to order a lot of statues, they were not ever perfectly painted. There were some imperfections, and people expected, and they were okay with that because it was just tiny little things, barely visible. But, we understood that they were they were hand painted, and because they were hand painted, it was open, and even in the description it says, all the paint work will vary, all the work will vary because they're hand painted. But now people want perfection in a way that is like unrealistic. It's like, dude, I pay too much money for this and that. Well, you pay as everyone else, and everyone else got something very different. Yes, I understand that a couple of things they require for in this case, the company to step in and fix, when there's something is broken, when the paint job is just terrible, it's horrible. But for the most part, people complain about little things. And it's sad because, to be honest with you, you have to be willing to accept that there are going to be ups and downs. You have to be willing to accept that not everything is going to be perfect. You have to be willing to accept that in the process of change, in the process of companies also adapting to new things and new systems, new art, and new companies, new factories, new materials, new pricing, the cost of living, all of those things, they have to adapt to it, and you have to adapt with it. Now, coming to the end of the podcast, before we prolong this, because it's been fun to talk about this thing, I just feel that I'm blessed. I'm thankful, grateful for what God has given me on the past 20 years of my life. In the past, I would say all my life, my 42 years on earth. I'm so grateful. But at the same time, I'm always looking for the next thing. And I cannot get stuck into the way it was last year or the year before when I started this, or I cannot get stuck in trying to really push this these ideas and trying to make it work when they're not working properly. And that's the reason why I decided just to, give it up, the way I was doing it, and maybe try it in a different way. And maybe limit the amount of videos that I produce, or even the podcast, how I produce it, all of that. Everything is constantly changing. And to be honest with you, that doesn't mean that everything has to stay the same. It doesn't mean that this podcast will remain the same. It doesn't mean that even this podcast will be forever. It doesn't mean that my channel will always remain open. It doesn't mean that, I'm always going to do the same thing, because ultimately I'm always looking for the next thing that is important in my life, the next season. Not because I'm changing things, not because I'm tossing one hobby for another. No, because I'm willing to learn. I want to learn something. I want to grow as a person. I want to be there at the first time in something in my life where I feel like I'm there and I'm doing something that is changing my life in a new direction. I think we all want that. I think when we get stuck in life and life becomes stale, I think it's important to make changes. To me, 2.5 years ago, it was a big change. It was a big change. It was a jump from what I knew into the unknown. And it required for me to put my money down, put the money that I have in order to survive. And I have done it. I stretched that money for 2.5 years, which is amazing. But at the same time, it was a loss. But ultimately, I don't see it as a loss. I see it more as an investment. It was an investment of my time, of my capacity. I learned so much stuff in the last 2.5 years. I have grown as a person. I've matured as a person. I'm not as naive as I was 2.5 years ago, which is amazing. You think that you know it all. I was already in my 40s, so I'm thinking I know everything. Actually, I didn't. And so in reality, it's like life is that. We have to be willing to adapt and to learn and to accept the challenges that come our way. And that's something that really gives us satisfaction in everything we do. In your hobby, whatever hobby it is, whether it's action in this case, action figure collectibles, or statues, or omnibuses, or comics, or diecast, gaming, for example, it's always going to be something there. If you're always looking for the perfect thing, you're never going to find it. You're never going to find the perfect game. You're never going to find the perfect statue, the perfect action figure, the perfect, anything. Nothing is perfect. Not even a movie, not even a TV series or TV show is perfect. There's always going to be flaws. But ultimately, that's what makes life unique. Not everything is perfect, and not everything is the same. There's beauty on all different things. And I feel that when you are accepting that, when you're willing to accept it, when you're willing to change with it and roll with the punches, I think life becomes more variable and becomes more enjoyable. And it becomes a journey that you don't feel like you are just being dragged on, but you feel like you are traveling and you are having fun with it. And I feel that that's in the end what's most important, is that you have fun with your life, that you have fun with what you're doing. If you're lost the fun, if you don't have fun with it, then definitely it may be time to change the hobby, or change the way you approach the hobby into something that is more enjoyable, because ultimately it's about having a place where we can escape reality, but we don't escape, the total reality. We escape our mind is just, it becomes a prison. That's the problem. A lot of times a hobby can become a prison rather than a place for relaxation, an oasis for relaxation. But what is your opinion? What do you think about it? Thank you for your support. Thank you for being with me on this journey. As long as we continue on, as long as I have the time, I will continue with the podcast. And as long as that's something that is really ignites my heart, passionate in my heart, then definitely I'm going to continue doing it. But thank you. Definitely, it's amazing to see that even though there are not many people listening, I know there are people listening out there. And I know that it's touching people's hearts and it's helping someone. So at the end of the day, let me know if this podcast helps you in any way. Let me know. You can do that by coming to Facebook. The links are in the description. You can let me know if you're impacted. You can come also to Twitter. Let me know on Twitter or Instagram. Let me know. You can come to YouTube on the pretty much in the description, or not the description, on the comments. You can leave a comment. Let me know if this is impacting your life and if you like the podcast, and let me know if you have been listening since the beginning. I don't know, or when you started listening to the podcast or watching the videos. My friends, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. God bless you. Take care, and I will talk to you again. Bye-bye.